Hey Capricorn, welcome to your August 2020 love and relationship reading. Thank you so much for coming. This channel is brand new, so it needs all of the help it can get. Please remember to like, to comment, and subscribe, as well as check out my Instagram at claire.voyant.queen and my Twitter at _Claire_voyant. Please remember these messages are general, so they may or may not resonate, but you can always check out your sun, your moon, your rising, and your Venus for more messages and more content. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Hey Capricorn, welcome to your August 2020 love and relationship tarot reading. Please remember that these messages are general, so they may or may not resonate. If they do resonate, that's fantastic. And if they don't resonate, do not worry. You can always check out your sun, your moon, your rising, as well as your Venus. Or you can come back next month. And you know what? You're going to get something completely different. Let's jump into it. Please tell me about Capricorn. Capricorn for August 2020. Capricorn for August of 2020. Capricorn for August of 2020. Okay. Capricorn for August of 2020. Capricorn. Capricorn for August of 2020. Capricorn. Capricorn. Come on, Capricorn. Capricorn. Let's pull that one. You know what to do. Let's see. Do you know what to do? In all battles of the heart over the mind, go with your heart. Because truly, it's a lot easier for your mind to catch up with your heart than for your heart to catch up with your mind. A whole lot. Not that I don't love your mind. The universe. So it feels like you are stuck between your heart and your mind, between something a little bit emotional and something a little bit logical. And it's asking you to go with your heart a whole lot. So let's pull some spirit animal cards and we'll kind of clarify this. Tell me about Capricorn. Tell me about Capricorn for August of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn. Capricorn for August of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn for August of 2020. Okay. So Capricorn, you are the starfish. We also had Gemini, who is the starfish as well. We have the stingray in your partner section. We have in your emotional connection, we have the bat. And then in your physical connection, we have the eagle. Oh, this is really cool. I already like this spread a lot. So the starfish really talks about, someone focusing on specificity, someone focusing on detail, someone focusing on like outer appearance, right? Because these like creatures are absolutely incredible in the way that they're designed and in the way that they appear physically. I'm feeling something about patterns or something of involving patterns or like some sort of cycle of some sort of like repetitive cycle going on in your life in terms of like perhaps like you think of things logically over emotionally a great deal of the time. I don't know why that wants to be said. I don't know why that wants to come through. It feels like sometimes you get trapped in your mind a lot when it comes to like relationships, that you overthink things, is kind of what I'm being told. However, there's a little bit more to this card than that. But essentially, it focuses on like really beautiful appearances and patterns, but it kind of talks about the fact that there's really nothing going on internally, right? It's all about the external. It's all about the physical appearance and not about the inner beauty. So it could be that you're focused on external beauty over internal beauty. It could be that someone does find you really beautifully attractive, but doesn't necessarily know too much about you. But there's something involving here about like physical beauty, and I feel that something about patterns very strongly. It feels like repetitive patterns of like thinking or of behavior. So you might be stuck in some sort of pattern or some sort of cycle. In your partner section, we have the stingray, and the stingray really focuses on all of our chakras, right? All the way from the root, all the way to the crown. And it really kind of talks about, it really talks about building a backbone, right? Building a spine, really coming into like a positive sense of like ego and a positive sense of like self, and like kind of developing our confidence, talking about developing a backbone, right? So there's really this essence of like kind of pushing someone, or like pushing you to transform, or pushing you to kind of think more positively about yourself, or having more faith or more courage in yourself. So it feels like your partner is about to undergo some sort of change here. And it does feel really good. It feels like they might be a little bit hesitant at first, but it feels like they really want to go for some sort of change and maybe move towards you. I'm really getting the impression that someone finds you very physically attractive, is kind of what I'm getting, which is interesting. And it might be this like physical attractiveness that's really pushing this person towards you. I'm also hearing though that this card could really be about your partner, in terms of like going with your heart over your mind. There's something about like your partner almost being like really physically attracted to you, but almost stuck in their head about approaching you or coming forward to you, which is really interesting. In your emotional connection, we have the bat. And the bat is like such a beautiful card. And the bat essentially is waiting for the sun to set and is waiting for the moon to rise to essentially kind of travel through the night, right? The bat sees everything in the dark, and it talks a lot about transformation, and it talks a lot about, waiting for the sun to set, for the moon to rise. There's some sort of like element of change, of cycles. I'm picking up cycles, especially with like, day by day and the moon setting and the sun rising, that sort of thing. There's something to do here with cycles. And really talking about like almost like flying into the darkness, like becoming one with darkness, and that sort of essence. I might read this card to you just to be sure. Boop, 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 boop. Let's see. We are so close to finding it. Okay. Darkness, letting go, death leading to rebirth. Before emerging, the bat waits for the sun to set and the moon to rise. In the darkness, it can see all that was invisible in the daylight hours. The bat is the master of the subtle senses, of the underlying forces that cause some things to prosper and others to fade. The bat card shows up to signify the ending of a chapter, the closing of a door. The bat comes swiftly, encouraging us to move on. In just a few hours, a new day dawns, no more lingering in the past. Yeah, I'm really getting that this is your partner. It feels like your partner is undergoing some sort of change or some sort of transformation regarding their self-confidence and regarding their ego. And it feels like you might be really encouraging it, or you might be really pushing it, or they might be seeing you as like very physically attractive and almost like attempting to come forward. But before they can come forward, they really have to kind of tackle themselves. Especially here, that's really reinforced too by the eagle, right? Because the eagle is an air element, very similar to the bat, but it also has this like fire undertone about it. And the eagle really talks about like karmic cycles, again, talking about cycles and talking about someone who might be stuck in their head and necessarily not using their emotions. And the eagle also really talks about essentially like picking someone up, throwing them into the karmic fire, really allowing that inner transformation to take place before like proceeding, before moving on. So there's definitely something going on where someone's undergoing some sort of massive, it feels like it's like an emotional change too, because notice how we have both you and your partner are water signs, right? We have 2 air signs in your emotional and physical connection, and we have 2 water signs that are representing both you and your partner here. So it feels like someone's undergoing some sort of like really dramatic change involving like involving their emotions and involving their self-confidence and their ego. Let's pull some traditional tarot cards and we'll kind of clarify what we have on the board. I might have just saw death in reverse, which is funny, isn't it? Tell me about Capricorn for August of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn for August of 2020. Tell me about Capricorn for August of 2020. Ooh. Tell me about Capricorn. God, I am a terrible shuffler, so you're going to have to bear with me. Tell me about Capricorn for August. Ooh. These cards really want to talk, though. For August of 2020. Okay. Tell me about Capricorn for August of 2020. Okay, in your current situation, we have the Ace of Cups in reverse. For your partner's current situation, we have Strength. And for your past connection, we have Judgment. In your current connection, we have the 9 of Swords. And then your future outcome, we have the 3 of Cups. So it kind of feels like, it's now feeling like this card can really speak to both of you, right? It's talking about, in all battles of the heart over the mind, go with the heart. Because truly, it's a lot easier for your mind to catch up with your heart than for your heart to catch up with your mind. A whole lot. So there's definitely this element of like, repetitive cycles, being stuck in your head, thinking about everything logically versus emotionally. And the universe is really asking you to kind of like trust, right? Trust. And really dive deep into how you feel about a situation or how you feel about someone. And that's really coming to the surface with the Ace of Cups here in reverse, because it's almost like it's a brand new beginning for you, but at the same time, like you're not emotional. It's an emotional brand new beginning, but it's not emotionally fulfilling. And the reason why it's not emotionally fulfilling is because you're using your mind over your heart here. So remember that we have the ability to flip the minor arcana over, right? We have the ability to right, not necessarily right the wrong, but right the reverse, you could say, right? So there's definitely this energy of you needing to become a little bit more emotional by kind of almost turning off that logistical switch in your mind. So definitely remember that. Think about that. Then in your partner section here, we have Strength cards. So you might be dealing with a Leo, or they might have some sort of Leo placement. And, Strength really refers to like trust and bravery and like inner courage and inner strength, right? And isn't it funny that we were talking about like developing a backbone and like developing self-confidence and developing ego? And then the Strength card appears, which is all about inner strength, right? Like almost like taming our own beasts and things like that. It feels like this person is developing their own inner strength, and that only comes with like trusting, and that only comes with like almost like, I'm hearing like venture out. It feels like they might be like processing a lot of this internally when they need to process a lot of it externally and like be around people. So I'm hearing like essentially like they have to step outside of their comfort zone. And then in your past connection, we have Judgment here, right? And Judgment is also the end of a cycle, very similar to how we have the Ace of Cups and even the Nine of Cups, the Nine of Swords. I wanted to say Knight of Cups, interesting. The Nine of Swords is pretty close to a 10 as well. So Judgment here is really talking about like a journey that we've been on and everything we've learned on this journey and kind of summarizing it and finally making a decision. It's almost like a card of like, you know, if you were writing an essay like in high school or something like that, it's the in conclusion card. It's like, after learning everything that we need to know, this is kind of like the summary of all of that knowledge and all of that information, and us finally making a decision based on what we've learned from it. So it feels like there was a pretty heavy, big decision that was made. It could have been in terms of this connection and this relationship, or it could have been in terms of like some sort of other connection or relationship, or just maybe a personal journey. It'd be really interesting to clarify this. We might do that. And then we have the Nine of Swords here. So it feels like someone's experiencing a lot of anxiety, a lot of trauma. And I'm really getting the impression that it's the stingray, right? It's someone who's like having to do something that they don't want to do. It's someone who's really kind of like, sometimes this is called the card of nightmares, right? Because it feels like she's laying in bed. It feels like she's just waking up. It feels like she's just had a horrific dream. And it has a lot to do with like mental anguish and sometimes a little bit of depression, and things like that. So it's really like mental torture is what I get with this card. And I feel like it's almost like your stingray, your person, your partner has essentially something that they have to do in order to come to you, in order to come through to you. But it feels like it's like very mentally taxing for them. And so they kind of have to find this inner strength in order to really push forward. It feels more about your partner and less about you. And then finally, in the outcome here, this is a really great outcome. I really like this. This is the card Three of Cups. It's sometimes called the dating card, right? It's not necessarily like a full romantic partnership, but it is going out. It is meeting people. It is like friendships. It's socializing. It's gathering. It's celebrating. And so I have a feeling that you two are going to kind of like come in contact with each other and begin to socialize. But I really don't think that can happen until they really tackle their own issues here. But I'm really interested in this Judgment card. So let's kind of go back and clarify that. Clarify Judgment for Capricorn. Clarify Judgment for Capricorn. Clarify Judgment for Capricorn. Clarify Judgment for Capricorn. Okay. So it seems like there was a situation. We have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse here. It feels like there was some sort of situation that you're really investing your time, your effort, and your energy into. And it feels like it just didn't necessarily pan out the way that you wanted it to pan out. It wasn't necessarily like a very long journey, but it was definitely something that like you put a lot of work into that didn't necessarily pan out. I'm kind of getting that this was a relationship. I feel like this was a past relationship that you kind of just said like, you know, this is like not as stable, not as secure as I wanted it to be. Like I was expecting more out of this. It feels like, and you were kind of just like, I think we're going to call it quits. I think we're going to call it done. And so you made the final judgment call to kind of like exit it, is how it feels to me. And Now I'm kind of getting the impression, that's interesting. I'm getting the impression that you're almost like in your head mentally and you're not using your emotional, like logistical self, because your emotional logistical self has kind of harmed you in the past. It feels like you were probably emotionally attached in this connection or in something like this. And it feels like you were investing a lot of time and energy into it, but you were getting nothing in return emotionally. And so it feels like you decided to leave. And it feels like now, when approaching new relationships and new situations, it feels like you're almost turning that emotional switch off. And it feels like you're doing that because you don't want to get hurt again, or you don't want to invest that much like effort into something that could like essentially fuck you over just like it did last time. So there's that kind of energy coming through here. But this is a really cool reading. I really think it has a really positive outcome with like the Three of Cups, you know. It feels like really good. It feels like you're going to be surrounded by like friends and family and loved ones, and it feels like really refreshing. It feels refreshing. It feels really good. And also what's really nice to see here too is, you know, like in your kind of current situation, in your present moment, we have the Ace of Cups in reverse, but then in the future outcome we have the Three of Cups upright, right? Which is kind of indicating to me that you're going to become a little bit more emotional, that you're working on your emotions, that, you know, we're not necessarily turning off that logic switch, but we're really balancing the logic and the emotion, I think is what they're trying to tell you to do. And it feels like once your partner does whatever they have to do to kind of come forward to you and kind of, you know, be a little bit more comfortable in their own skin, it feels like we're going to have a really great outcome here. It does feel a little bit taxing for them, but it feels like, you know, it's their personal journey that they really have to go through. But Capricorn, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I hope you enjoyed your reading, and I will see you next month. Thanks, guys.